My name is Laquan Williams, and in this video I want to discuss the recent episode of The Legends of Tomorrow, which was on Sunday a couple of days ago. It was August 29th, 2021, and basically it's what we're seeing obviously is now, this is season 6 episode 14. What we're seeing obviously now is what obviously has happened to John Constantine, obviously his ultimate fate, but apparently he's not good to be gone until the last episode. The team's going to try to help him and bring him back somehow, but ultimately it doesn't work because he ends up still, obviously, as we know, dying in the episode next week, which is the season finale, obviously, of this current season, which is season 6. It will be episode 15, which will be the last episode of this season. We already know that because a couple of weeks ago, if you looked online and if you want following the show, I talked about it as well. The DC Legends writer and director of the show went on a Comic-Con online panel with the rest of the cast and gave out everything what's going to happen to John Constantine. He's gone. We already know that J.J. Abrams is going to be doing a show on HBO Max, so because of that, Matt Ryan can't play John Constantine on the CW anymore, so that's basically a done deal. So because of that, they have to change his character. He's no longer playing John Constantine. He will be playing a Welsh, which is obviously British because he is British, the actor, and also John Constantine himself will be playing a Welsh scientist who knows all about time travel, which is obviously essential to the team because next season, they already gave it away on the CW director and writer gave it away that next season, in season 7, the team will not be able to travel through time. I think the Wave Rider will probably end up being destroyed by Bishop, or he'll take it himself, I don't know, and they won't be able to time travel, and Gideon will no longer be an AI system. She's actually going to change into a real-life, actual person, which is obviously what we've seen in previous episodes of the show, so some type of time-altering situation happens that makes all this take place, that causes all this to happen. This season it's been really sloppy, very hit or miss. The first half of the season was them trying to find where Sarah Lance was, obviously, who was lost in space / kidnapped by aliens, and obviously she landed up and somehow getting into Bishop's hands eventually. And he's obviously been an unfunny, annoying villain. The show's obviously just very comedic now. It's basically Guardians of the Galaxy, like 3.0, how they try to make this show like the comedic relief of the CW, whereas the Flash and Green Arrow weren't. They're more serious. They have obviously jokes and comedy on the show, but the overall tone is much more darker and serious. This is not how it's the DC Legends of Tomorrow used to be 4 or 5 years ago. It was much more serious than this, with villains who actually weren't jokes, like obviously Bishop is. They had Damien Dark, obviously. Reverse Flash was on the show as a villain, obviously the one that was obviously the most terrible for them to face was Vandal Savage, obviously very ruthless and evil. And you can tell, obviously, you can see how dark the show was in the tone of overall compared to the first and second season. And when you look to now, especially obviously, like I said, not having Damien Dark and other villains around that they used to have, who have obviously been defeated. But apparently, Damien Dark's supposed to come back on the CW TV network. He's going to be on these shows, and somehow I don't know how they're going to be able to revive him back. But there's supposed to be a bunch of crossovers in the next coming seasons for The Flash and also Legends of Tomorrow, and also Batgirl and Batwoman, obviously, and Stargirl, where all the other shows, and also Superman and Lois, they're all supposed to do mini crossovers together instead of doing just one big, huge one in the 3 parts like they usually do. It's 5 episodes, but in each episode, for the first season for all the shows, other characters are going to come on each other's shows and collaborate, obviously do the mini team-ups, obviously, so that's what's taking place. But like I said, the CW's obviously been very sloppy with all these shows over the past couple of years now, as you can see with all these cancellations of not having spin-off shows that were hyped up, and obviously you got psyched out or they lied to you, it was fake. You thought there was going to be a Green Arrow and Canary show. That's not going to happen. But Mia Queen, a.k.a. Mia Smoke, who is Felicity Queen, obviously Oliver Queen, daughter, she's coming back to be on one of the characters involved in these spin-off shows. The mini team-ups that they're going to have. So she's probably going to be on The Flash, I think, because she never interacted with the rest of the other heroes on the other shows. So she most likely will be on The Flash because she's obviously very close to the Team Flash, since obviously Oliver Queen and Barry Allen were very close. So, but as far as anybody else goes, like I said, John Diggle, he had a couple episodes this season where he was on different shows. The Dave Ramsey was on Superman and Lois. He was also on Batgirl. So we'll see. And he was on The Flash as well. So we'll see what happens with that. I know a lot of people keep talking about him being revealed to be Green Lantern. If they do that on a show, which I believe is supposed to be on HBO Max, that's what's going to happen. They've only teased on the CW, which I think is lame because they're not actually going to see him put the ring on or wear the suit. But they've obviously teased it in the last couple of this last year, especially last about 4 episodes ago on Superman and Lois. Obviously, when he was on there, Dave Ramsey was trying to help Lois and Superman. He was having his headaches and stuff. He was also doing on the Flash. He was having his headaches, and the ring of the Green Lantern was calling to him, but we'll never actually see him actually put on a suit or obviously put the ring on or hold the lantern. He will be, if he does that, Dave Ramsey will be playing him on HBO Max, just like how we're going to see J.J. Abrams have the John Constantine show on there, which is going to be more darker and much more mature, obviously with blood and obviously, guts and gore, which we'll probably see on the Green Lantern show. But they're taking these characters, so they can tease them, but you won't be able to see them at all actually in full effect. It's really obviously unfortunate. So what's happening on this week's episode is that John Constantine asked Bishop to help him find the Fountain of Imperium to obviously unlock it. They had to go back in time so he can actually have another chance at getting it. He thought that was obviously was going to be the case. John Constantine, he turned on the team. He betrayed them to get more power, obviously, so he could stop drinking all that blood that he got from Aleister Crowley's vampire friend, so he would obviously not be enthralled and continue to be I guess you could say consumed by dark magic. He wanted the ultimate power on his own. So Bishop basically tricked him and took the ship, the Wave Rider, which is obviously where the Legends of Tomorrow live on, and obviously used to travel through time because it is their time traveling, ship / home where they live at. So they went back into 1929. Half the team was not able to, most of the team was not able to catch up to them because they were stranded at John Constantine's house. Spooner and Azra were the only two ones that were able to get to John Constantine and Bishop because they were still on the ship when it took off, and they obviously didn't know that. So basically what happens is they went back to 1929. He was trying to find the Fountain of Imperium, obviously, and John Constantine was helped by Bishop, and he found it, obviously. But see, here's the thing, the whole situation with Bishop and her mother and her running into her mother and also herself. Apparently she's from 1929, but her younger, that version of herself. But basically what this is, Bishop is from 1929, but when she obviously saw her mother get killed by a bunch of guys who were trying to take her land, because she didn't want to sell it to them, she ran to the forest, and the Fountain of Imperium obviously unlocked itself after she cut herself on the rocks that were by, and the blood from her hands activated it, and the fountain opened up, and it was like a big huge bright light. It teleported her to Earth in the 80s and the 90s apparently somehow, and kept her safe. So she's apparently from what we obviously figured out now is that she's from the past, and this whole thing was really sloppy. She ran into her mother and herself from the past when she was just a little girl, and actually told her mother that she's her daughter. And I was saying to myself, which obviously I was reminded by what Azra told her in the episode, you can't tell your mom who you are. And this whole thing with what we obviously know, we have to find John Constantine. She said that's going to be a second priority. First priority is getting to my mother. But this whole concept of them screwing up with time obviously is a big, huge thing that they keep talking about. But seems like that was not a huge problem or a deal or actual issue at all. She screwed up the space-time continuum, because remember, every time when people travel through time and back, you can even see it in Back to the Future. What was always the rule that Marty was told by Dr. Brown: you can't interact with yourself in the past. You can't interact with yourself in the future. It's going to screw up time itself, and it's going to screw up obviously lots of events, and make a lot of issues take place, and bad events obviously will happen. Time will be screwed up, and obviously things will occur that weren't supposed to happen, and obviously things that happened in history will be undone. And obviously what Dr. Brown told Marty was that it could even mess you up to the fact that obviously he even said it to your parents, you can't interact with them, you won't be born. You always saw it too. Obviously, what happened? He had to make sure. What happened Back to the Future 1? McFly had to make sure his parents got to obviously dance with each other at the Enchantment of the Sea dance at their high school, because if they didn't, they never fell in love, and him and his brother and sister were never going to be born. So he remember on stage in Back to the Future 1, Marty McFly was playing the guitar. His hands started to disappear because he was fading away with time. He was fading, obviously, away from existence, because obviously if his parents never fell in love, he was never going to be born, so he would be erased from time, and he would never exist. So that's basically something that's a logical thing that you can see in Back to the Future. Obviously, all those 3 movies, the trilogy, but in this whole 6 season, which we're going on 7th for the show, that's not the case. So Spooner interacted and told her mother, "I'm your daughter Esperanza from the future," and tells her everything. And then all of a sudden, obviously, she didn't fade away until literally, the version of herself that faded away, which was herself as a kid, her younger version, she went into the Fountain of Imperium, and it zapped her away like it was supposed to happen, but she stayed there, and because of that, she fell down, and it looked like she passed out. I don't know if she's going to fade away or not. More than likely, it won't happen. I don't know how they're going to be able to save her. John Constantine was was obviously tricked by what's his name, Bishop, and obviously he was poisoned. Bishop poisoned him with the serum and whatever he gave him, that needle syringe, which he thought was going to help him become a purified person. So the Fountain of Imperium would think he was a child, and obviously with being innocent, so it would choose him, obviously. And he would be able to get all the power from the Fountain of Imperium. But John Constantine was tricked by Bishop, obviously, and he died. He was turning, literally when he was laying down, because he was obviously dying, he got wrapped up by plants and leaves from the ground, and it wrapped around him, his whole entire body, and he just literally sunk into the ground and faded away. So they're trying to say next week is that what it's looking like for the season finale is that the team's going to try to go back into the past and save John Constantine. It probably obviously was going to lead to them trying to save him, but obviously ultimately they fail and he dies, and he's going to be reborn as this Welsh scientist from the future. I don't know how they're going to do that, how he dies and he magically becomes another character. Does his spirit go into somebody else's body? It really doesn't make sense, and it's very weird. But the only reason why they had to do this specifically to keep him on the show was because, obviously, like I said, J.J. Abrams is taking the John Constantine character to HBO Max, and he's doing his own show on there with his production company, Bad Robots. So they can't do so. It's the CWTV network / obviously TV, the network, obviously, which has the show on there, Legends of Tomorrow. John Constantine, played by Matt Ryan, can't play him anymore. So how they're going to change, like I said, they keep him on the show, he plays a different character, and that's basically what's going to happen. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, this is all going to happen next week. As far as Bishop being destroyed, he'll probably will be, but ultimately the damaging effect of what happens is that they lose, obviously, Mick Rory. They said he doesn't die in that explosion. Some people are saying online that he's probably a clone, but I don't know if that's going to be the case because Dominique Purcell is leaving the show as Heatwave. His last episode most likely be next week if they don't show him to be dead by that blast that happened on the ship that was triggered by Bishop that the rest of the team was trying to avoid. So that's basically what happened. As I've said before, and I will keep saying, even though I watched this show, I've been watching it since the first season, it's gone down the drain completely. It's sloppy. It's they're trying too hard with the jokes and the comedy, and it's just not funny anymore. And like I said, it's just literally like Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm just doing Disney Channel elements. They're doing musicals. The villain Bishop is dancing and singing every 5 minutes and singing songs, and I'm like, this is a complete joke. And these are actors and people in their late 30s and early 40s, and this is supposed to be a serious show. And you're like, this guy is supposed to be the bad guy / villain, but he's dancing and singing, and it's not funny. It's just like pathetic. I'm like, this is not a Disney Channel movie. This is a superhero show with established characters for comic books. This isn't some kids show where you can have a dancing, singing villain making jokes and stuff. I kind of throw it back to like Spy Kids, the movies, or something like the Power Rangers where they had Pumpkin Rapper. He was a rapping pumpkin, literally had his whole body. He was always rapping, but obviously the Power Rangers hated it, but they kept obviously having to deal with his being distracted by him rapping because he was attacking them with his vines and having pumpkin heads thrown on them, so they couldn't really breathe in their helmets, obviously. But that was obviously funny, but it was annoying at the same time because he was a rapping pumpkin monster, pumpkin rapper. So I thought that was funny. This is not funny with Bishop, like I said. So we'll see what happens going into the next season, which will be season 7. I believe it will be the last season. And and that's basically it. Oh yeah, Bayrod was not in this episode at all. I don't know where he was at. There was no explanation of that. Everybody was on the episode, including Bishop, the whole team, but he wasn't. So I was kind of looking around like, where did he go? That made no sense to me. And that's basically what's going on. The whole notion that you see a CW TV network and Matt Ryan, everybody saying, there's nothing else we could do with John Constantine is not true at all. There's actually nothing that they are allowed to do anymore because, like I said before, HBO Max put their foot down and said, we're taking a character over here, and that's the final word. That's what's going to happen. That's why you won't be seeing him Matt Ryan play him anymore. It's not his fault, obviously. He plays the character. As the actor. He's been playing him for years. He has his own solo show on NBC 2014 through 2015. It was 1 season, 13 episodes. I have it on Blu-ray. I got it from Amazon a couple of years ago. The show was canceled after 1 season. And NBC were jackasses. They played a lot of fans like us like a fiddle and didn't put the DVD the whole entire season out for like a year or two. They kind of were stonewalling people and holding it ransom. I don't know why, because I was like, why isn't the DVD out now? You canceled the show, you're done with it, you wiped your hands clean of it, you're moving on. Just put it out already. We waited for a couple of years, myself included, and a lot of John Constantine fans were like, is it finally coming out? It finally came out. And obviously, like myself included, lots of people got the DVD. If you got it on Amazon or eBay, wherever, it's the Blu-ray, obviously, version is the best version to get, obviously, of it for his John Constantine show. We thought the CW TV network was going to give him a second season, but years ago they announced that they were not. He was going to be a recurring character on the Flash, Green Arrow, and then ultimately being guest character on those shows. But ultimately, he was a recurring character on these Legends of Tomorrow, which he's been since season 4. They established it. They said he's going to be on the show, but he will not be having his own solo show. He'll just be on the show until the show's over. Obviously, that's not the case, so he's leaving now, and the character's leaving. Matt Ryan's staying on the show. It's just going to be very weird. Now, all of a sudden, he goes from John Constantine to you snap your fingers. He's supposed to be playing a whole different, completely new character. You're supposed to take this seriously. He's the Welsh scientist and knows all about time travel, who can help the team out since they won't be able to time travel anymore without a ship / the Wave Rider. So I don't know what they're going to do, what technology they're going to be using to get by, obviously, but how they kind of dressed it up was obviously very silly because yes, they're dealing with real problems already on the ship and outside of the ship when they walk around Earth in different parts of the countries, different parts of the world when they travel through space and time itself, even go on different planets. They were like, oh, you superheroes. I'm like, none of them have powers with the exception of Steel, played by Nate, who plays him on the show. He has powers. Bayrod and obviously his sister Zari have powers. The rest of the team doesn't. But obviously the technology is not there anyways. Is there for them anyways, but they won't have it obviously now because obviously I know some people say, well, you don't need superpowers. Yes, I know, but the technology is obviously there, but how to kind of how they kind of I guess you can say made it so seem like, oh, they don't have they are superheroes but they need the technology. I'm like, they're just average everyday people, but yes, a lot of them have special abilities, obviously are very smart and technical. Not all of them have powers obviously, but it's just like I said, obviously been something that you can see on the show. It's not all fun like it used to be. Obviously, it's just kind of like we're just winging it, hey, we're legends, and they just keep saying that over and over again. It's actually just getting annoying, and obviously very cringeworthy, and the constant singing and dancing and shucking and jiving is actually very cringeworthy, and I would say just skin crawling, because they're just trying too hard. The writers, they just really don't care. As you can see when shows are on for a while, after a while, you can just tell, and you can see it with the writing, how it is planned and stuff, that the people that write this show really don't give a damn about it anymore. They're just kind of phoning it in. The show's almost over, so let's just get this out the way. That's why they gave away the season 7 plot 4 weeks ago online with their Comic-Con online group chat with the writer and director of the show and the rest of the cast. That was really strange. So you're going to give away what's going to happen in season 7 4 weeks before season 6 is even over, and let us know exactly what's going to happen. How are you going to get people hyped for the show if they are obviously know what's the plot? We know John Constantine's going to be gone as Matt Ryan. He can't play him anymore. the whole, oh, we couldn't do nothing with him anymore is BS. They're not allowed to do anything with him anymore. Like I said that too, there's nothing we could do with the character. We did all we could, it's, like the whole kind of like, oh, we're sorry, we kind of have to move on. That's not the case, obviously. The case is that, obviously, the facts. J.J. Abrams and HBO Max are taking the show to John Constantine, HBO Max, and the CW TV network cannot use that character anymore. That's why all that complete and total BS lie that they've been saying for weeks. I don't know why. Like people can't look online and know about this news. I knew about this in February when the article came out. It said J.J. Abrams is going to be making a John Constantine show on HBO Max, and Matt Ryan's not going to be on it. I said, okay, so that's kind of weird. Then this happens months later. This is I believe July, I think it was. No, we were in August. I think it was June, actually, if I'm not mistaken, when they released a couple weeks ago. No, yeah, I think it was about 4 weeks ago when they released the news that they obviously were giving away the plot for season 7 and what specifically was going to happen. I was just like, why are they letting us know what's going to happen? The team loses the Wave Rider. They can't travel through time. John Constantine's going to be is gone. Matt Ryan's playing a scientist. I'm like, well, you gave all that away, so you're like, well, where's the hype for the show? Well, you just kind of have to see what happens to be hyped for it, even though you know what happens. It's like, that makes no sense, obviously, when you look at that. But we'll see what happens, obviously, throughout the rest of the show's existence. Like I said, more than likely, this show and The Flash will be gone after their next current seasons, which will be season 8 for The Flash, and this show will be season 7 ending. I doubt each of them will have another season after that. I really don't think so. And if they do, they'll be shortened to about 7-8 episodes, probably about 8 or 6, to make it something like that, because 7 makes no sense. Usually when shows end, they do 6 episodes or 8, or even 10, to cut it like that, to make it obviously, very even numbers, So that's more than likely what's going to happen, So we'll see what happens. Like I said, the show is not the same as it used to be, but that's just how it is. What lots of shows that I've been watching over the years, even when things are not looking good or it's not as entertaining anymore as they used to be, or as the show used to be, I still watch it to the end because I want to know what's going to happen. I don't want to say, let me stop now, it's boring, and this is season 2, and it's still on for a couple more seasons, and it's like season 5, I'm like, I missed out, what happened? I have to come back into it now and catch up and binge watch all the seasons I missed. So I still watch it to the end unless the show is canceled. That's literally what I do. Lots of people do that. More than likely, other people are like, I don't have the patience for it. I understand, obviously, but I do it. It doesn't matter what show it is. All the shows I've watched over the years that are no longer on air, Reaper, Chuck, Dexter, all the shows, I still watch them to the end. CSI Miami, everything. And I even say the same thing with Law & Order SVU. It's not been the same as it has been in the last couple of years. I'm still watching it. I've been watching it for about 6-7 years now. I still watch it, even though it's not the same as it used to be, because I'm just like, I don't want to wait. I don't want to quit now and stop watching the show. And then when I come back to it 2 years later, I'm like, I'm lost. I have to catch up to all these seasons and episodes and stuff. And that takes, obviously, it takes time. But obviously, if you have free time, you can do it. But sometimes, obviously you still don't want to. You're just like, dang, it's like 24, 36 episodes I got to catch up to. So I just watch the whole entire show until it's over. And it just basically depends, and that's basically all I have to say. That's the end of my video. Thank you again for watching. That's all I have to say about this. If you've been watching the show, let me know. If you've stopped watching it for years because you're tired of Legends of Tomorrow, just let me know why and what season you stopped watching, obviously, or will you be watching the next season, which most likely will be the last one, season 7. And what do you think about what's happening on the show, obviously, as of now? And if you're a John Constantine fan like me, how do you feel about his ending now about to take place, obviously, next week on the season finale of season 6? And I'll talk about that, obviously, when it happens next week. And that's the end of my video. Thank you for watching. That's all I have to say about this in regards to season 6, episode 14 of my review of Legends of Tomorrow, and obviously the fate of John Constantine and what's ultimately going to happen to him, obviously, which we know next week he will be gone forever on the network and the show, and that's basically it. Matt Ryan's not allowed to play him, obviously, anymore because, like I said, of the contractual agreement / production issues with the HBO Max show that's going to be taken over by J.J. Abrams and his company Bad Robot. So because of that, John Constantine will no longer be used on the CW TV network, and Matt Ryan can't play him anymore. That's just unfortunately how things are. And we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, next week on the season 6 finale. Thank you again for watching. That's all I have to say about this again. Thanks, bye.